Hey, everybody. Um, Welcome back to another kind of news format. I'm going to be doing a What's That All About version. What's That All About version of the whistleblower update. So that's only been a couple of days. The interview hasn't even come out yet with Ross Coulthart. I if you haven't all watched my first video, it's obviously just right there on my little site. Um, okay, so that interview with Ross is going to be Sunday on News Nation. Okay, I guess I'm going to be putting a link in that Bryce Zabel from Need to Know, the podcast slash YouTube channel that um, Ross Coulthart has with Bryce Zabel. He does like a little bit of a teaser. So I'm going to put the link in and it'll give you the information you need for watching the full interview with the whistleblower, David Crutch. Crush? I'm still kind of struggling with his name. People are saying it different ways. So I'm sort of saying it different ways. Doesn't really matter that much, I don't think. I think it's just important we call him whistleblower and give him support. So per the usual, okay, since the story of David broke or came to light, I don't know how you want to say it, the skeptics have sort of started to bombard a little bit the airwaves, and there's still not much from legacy media. There's a couple of things where there's like a Fox update, people doing quick little snippets, but mostly News Nation is doing follow-up interviews with people. And I have a couple of quotes just from other people that are in the under kind of the umbrella of the UAP UFO researcher slash debunker slash sort of just kind of ufologists, even somewhat. So, but there are people like Jeremy Corbell, for example, that are coming forward to support David's claims. And of course, he and George Knapp, who have weaponized their podcast and YouTube channel, they're still really careful. They have stories that come out that they're still vetting and they're still looking at the sources and they're still kind of considering a lot of things. And these kinds of stories, since they're so massive, or can be so massive and kind of catch, like they really can start like a, what do you call those things, that a juggernaut, if they catch kind of in good fashion. But if the information, comes to be, supported, it's really just a responsible and diligent thing to do. Okay. So voices like theirs, George and Jeremy, along with Ross and Bryce, and others, they, I really think are really starting to move the needle like forward just a little bit. Even if it's just a little bit, at least it's going forward versus backwards. So I'm hopeful that this disclosure will be a catalyst for more whistleblowers to feel emboldened or compelled to come forward. I'm hoping. But like I said, with this new information, which, as a reminder, is the disclosure surrounding the facts that our government has been in contact with non-human intelligence for decades, grr, and that they also have in their possession both crashed or downed, whichever way you want to say it, and landed crafts of non-human origin. That's the main thing here, people. They have got these things in their possession, things that all you've heard since before Roswell. There's no there. And there's so there with capital THERE. Okay, that's enough of that. Can you tell I'm a little annoyed with that? But anyway, wondering now, like, I know that they have these things in their possession. So have they done any of the reverse engineering they claim to be, doing? How are they How are they applying some of that already to our daily lives? Is there some more mind manipulation, MK Ultra type stuff in the airwaves now with cell phones, with, advertising? Who knows? I have no idea. We'd never know, sadly. But that's okay. That I did hop a little bit into conspiracy theory. I digress, which we all know. It's like Robin 101. Okay. There are things that are probably now being used, I would say, in aircrafts. I think some of this new technology they've had is definitely being used in aircrafts, maybe even for medical advancements. I hope that would be awesome. But like literally the sky's the limit. And that, I mean that figuratively and literally. So at this point, though, here's the thing. We will only know once the government is completely mastered and knows all about what they have in their possession, will we ever even hear, if we ever, hear something to the extent that we really should. But it certainly it won't be disclosed until they have that kind of a grasp on it. So the public, as usual, that's us, will still be sitting in disclosure purgatory, which is what I call it. Unless more whistleblowers, again, just like, come on forward, come on down. You got the right price. You got it. Let's go. Excuse me. Now, thankfully, people like Bryce and Ross and Jeremy and George, they stand at the ready. They really do. So you bring their good vehicles to get that information out. They know how to do it. They know how to inform the public. So the government can just remove their fucking boot off of our necks. That'd be nice. All right. I know my introduction ran long yet again, and I am sorry about that. But then again, I'm not. It's like it's important to know what's going on here and how people like me, general public 101, are kind of digesting all of this. Okay. When my passion gets ignited, though, like, it's like a fire, it gets ignited. It's like disclosure's like this accelerant, and I just ignite. I can't help it. It's like, bah, it all just comes flying out of me. But as I said, with new information from David, and you will always have on the other side of that, just like in the universe, the positive and negative, right? These are the I'm going to piss in your Cheerios people. That's what I like to call them. Instead of debunkers, I think piss in your Cheerios is more apt description of some of these people. For example, and I'm not saying, okay, the Black Vault, which I know I've talked about John Greenwald Jr. before. He's a researcher, but he's also the host of the Black Vault. And I don't necessarily call him a debunker. I call him a heavy skeptic. Okay. He has the bowl of Cheerios in front of him. He has not pissed in them yet. That's my distinction. Okay. So I do believe deep down he really wants this whistleblower, David, to be the real deal. I do believe that. But I also believe that he cannot help himself with the amount of, I'm not going to call them red flags. I'm going to call them like more vermilion. Okay. It's like a different shade of red. It's not quite red. It hasn't really graduated into the full-fledged red flag, but he's got a couple of things that he wants addressed or that for him need to be answered before he's really on board. I don't think he'll ever actually be on board until an alien sits down with like a fucking cigar in his mouth and is like, okay, what don't you believe about me? God, that would be outstanding. Okay. In his latest video, I put the link below because I just think it's fair to show all sides of things. The video is called Exploring the UFO Whistleblower Story. Wow, creative, right? And he starts to look into the claims and the story around it, talking about the article that the links in the last episode. And he has, some things that he wants to talk about. I'll just read his quote. Okay. He says that, okay. So his claim that the whistleblower is, quote, going out to a lot of different people, just talking to everybody, which is also, I think, okay, but it just I don't know. It doesn't seem right. He goes on to say, there's something that doesn't smell right there. I'm not trying to make a mountain out of a molehill there, but I think it's still a viable question. Please excuse my lack of acting skills. I'm not here to win any kind of award. Okay, so here's my rebuttal. All right. First of all, he didn't go to everybody. Hang on, I'm trying to not lose my well microphone. All right. Everybody with his information. He spoke with Jeremy and George Knapp about 14 months ago. They have a system. They work their sources. They are doing their homework, okay? They are checking and rechecking and all these things before that they were going to, maybe they weren't going to come out with it. Maybe they really weren't ready to share this story. He also didn't go to everybody when it comes to press. He went to specific people, okay? Leslie Kane, Ralph Blumenthal from The Debrief, who have also done work for the New York Times. The thing was, New York Times, their deadline was too quick. I mean, not quick enough. Sorry, not quick enough. So this story, they wanted to get it out immediately before it got scooped by anybody else. Because once rumors start to buzz out in the media world, there isn't much you can do. Again, like another juggernaut, you can't really stop that machine. Okay. So David wanted to get his story told by the proper channels, through the proper channels, I should say. And so, and Ross Coulthart, I mean, he's above, in my mind, talk about above reproach. Jeez and crackers. He is like the best of the best. And he's reliable, he's resourceful, he's respectful, and he's respected in his field. Okay, so are Leslie and Ralph. So these are the voices that can get this disclosure out in a way that the public deserved to know and understand it. They have that experience. David doesn't. He's not a journalist. He's an intelligence guy, He's a nerd, just like the rest of us. I don't know if I'd be considered intelligence world, but anyway. So again, not everybody. He wasn't notifying everybody. He wasn't taking out flyers or fucking ads in the paper or some shit. It's a ridiculous thing to say and that's my rebuttal on it. So, and as far as wanting to make a mountain out of a molehill, that comment, it's sort of silly to say that considering you're on your YouTube channel doing it. That would be like me saying, I don't really like to I don't really like to talk, but I'm doing it, it's silliness. It's like, no, you do want to make a mountain out of a molehill. You clearly do. Why would you be doing what you're doing if you're not? Right? Anyway, okay. But I don't want to harp on it because I can sort of understand his point of view also. If you are a kind of like born into it skeptic and that is just the way you see things, then that's just the way you're always going to see them. And unfortunately, it's very hard, almost impossible to change somebody's mind at this point in our lives. Like we're all kind of hard baked, So our childlike wonder, while I still maintain mine, but it's like an active act every day. I try to hold on to mine. Some people just don't have that anymore. It's gone, like vapor. So I don't want to, like I said, harp on it too much. I want to move on. But after watching the Black Vault episode, the thing in its entirety, and then reading the transcript again to make sure that I didn't miss anything, and I would like to share like that. First and foremost, I think that the amount of time that Greenwald does give to his grievances, his doubts, they all really kind of focused on the same thing. So you've got clearances were a big issue for him, classifications, timeline continuity, and a very clear, very non-hidden any kind of way, which is good, I guess. Transparency is a good thing, but of what he really just he wants to know what the end game is for this whistleblower. He wants to know why the timing now, what's going on, and that kind of thing. So I think it's important to remember that a lot of this, actually, most of it, let's be honest, it's opinions. It boils down to opinions, and facts are hardly part of it to some degree, right? Because even, it does go for all of us, including the whistleblower. David came forward now, in my opinion, due to the fact that he became aware of classified information pertaining to the UFO phenomenon in its entirety, like the nuances of certain different things that was not passed through Congress. And just so everyone's up to speed on this, that's fucking illegal. That's illegal. Okay? So it's very important to know that. And David is a patriot. There's no getting around that. Now, he felt compelled by his oath and duty to the United States of America to file this complaint. Okay? And I, for one, consider him to be quite brave and quite the badass for doing so. So thank you, David. Not that you'll ever see this, but thank you anyway. And what I'd like to ask Mr. Greenwald, I guess, would be this. Okay, I'm going to just simple. Why did you feel compelled to jump immediately into negative space when the story broke? Honestly, you don't even know the whole story yet. You haven't seen the interview, unless Ross Coulthart was like, oh, I really want Greenwald to see this first, and so that he can do his show and have a complete picture of what this is about. You haven't seen it, just like the rest of us haven't seen it yet. And I just feel like your claims in their entirety, you're generalizing and speculating on fractional information that was solely released to inform the public that it was coming down the pike, and that to be ready for it, to have the awareness, to be open to listening and receptive to what is coming at you. Hasn't come at them yet, though. So you don't have it either. You have what the article told you. I have what the article told you. Anybody else who read it has that information. Lighten up, dude. Lighten up. Okay? I'm not trying to be nasty, but just lighten up. Okay? Let your mind take a break for a second and just let it flow. Open it up a little crack, just a little crack. Crack you if you don't. No, I'm just kidding. But I'd like to leave that there. I know more information's coming. And like I said, it's on Sunday. I think it's on News Nation at 9 p.m. But again, I have the link in the down below. Anyway, so I'd like to address something that was said by Nick Pope. Okay. He's like he was a disinformation officer at one time for the Ministry of Defense. So I think it's very important to keep that in the back of your mind. But he knows when a story is a story. Okay. And he usually finds his way into it somehow, but he's great. I think Nick Pope is actually quite fantastic, if I'm being honest. Now, he was asked a specific question by News Nation recently that what his reaction to the whistleblower saying that this is is it legitimate to say this has been like a decades long Cold War? And Nick's reply was, that does sound legitimate. If Congress manages to verify this, and they're actually working on that right now, through the hearings that you mentioned, like the Congress hearings that were skipped, and the whole reason why this whistleblower came forward. Anyway, the hearings, and indeed the intelligence committees and the armed forces committees, and looking at this too, if this is verified, yes, absolutely. As was said in the piece, the nation that first gets out this technology will be the dominant force on this planet for the foreseeable future. That's pretty impactful. I thought that was pretty important to hear. Also want to bring you lastly, calm down, that Ryan Graves, Lieutenant Ryan Graves, okay, former F-18 pilot who has firsthand knowledge and accounts, eyewitness accounts of seeing UAPs during his day job. When asked what he'd like to see from the government, his reply was this. So first off, quote, I'd like to offer a lot of support for David and any other whistleblowers that are considering coming forward. We need to remember that this isn't happening in a vacuum. So important to remember that. This is happening in response to very specific legislation that Congress created and was signed into law. LAW, law, by the president in December. He says of 2023. That actually hasn't happened yet. So I'm pretty sure he meant 2022. But this is something that, okay, anyway, and he goes on to say, now it will be on Congress to investigate the claims that David has put out and to be transparent with the information they learn. And Ryan, I have one thing to say to you. I will drink to that. Thank you very much for saying it. You have a voice in this. I don't have a dog in this fight because I don't have the kind of platform that everybody else who's out there is doing this. I am just trying to make people who are going to stumble onto my channel aware of what's going on. And hopefully this was helpful. I will give another update after the Sunday interview when I have more of a complete picture of what's going on. So until then, I hope that you are all staying happy and healthy. Stay weird, please, and stay open-minded and take care. Bye.